Okay, we're going to be working in lesson 6.1 on the what's called the worksheet, which is one of the first financial statements we are going to be actually doing, first of many. And I want to bring your attention to, again, if you're watching this in future years, the dates will be different, obviously, but I want to go to the current week that we're going to be in. And there's the textbook, lesson 6.1, creating a worksheet, but there's also preparing a worksheet. I want to bring your attention to that. And it says, notice you make sure you are downloading, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there you go. And this is an insert that's in the textbook, which is a very lengthy section on preparing a worksheet. Now, we're just focusing here on what? Recording the trial balance. That's all we're doing for now, today. We're going to write the heading and we're going to record the trial balance. So as we move through chapter 6 in particular, we're going to be adding segments to this idea of preparing a worksheet, starting with the trial balance. And on the second page of this addendum to our textbook, which is more like an insert, it shows an example of a trial balance that you would see for, in this case, Delgado Web Services. All right, so there's our trial balance. So that's what we're chatting about today. I'm going to pull this over here. So for starters, our goals here, of course, prepare the heading of a worksheet and prepare the trial balance section of a worksheet, just focusing on that. And the bottom line here is we've talked about going from the multi-column journal to the general ledger. We've posted our individual general debits and credits. We've posted our column totals. Now it's time to prove that what we've done for the month is accurate. All right. And want to make sure, most of all, that our debits equal our credits before we move forward. Because if they're not equal, we can't move forward. Something's messed up. Okay. And then the accounting concept for starters, just getting into some terminology here. Consistent reporting is essentially we're using the same methodology every month. We're being consistent and doing the same thing to make sure we're being accurate. Accounting in this area is a very exact science. I've got 20 years of experience to demonstrate that. But this is a case where close is not good enough. Now we get into this concept of fiscal periods, which you may have heard of. Length of time for which a business summarizes its financial information. A fiscal period is also known as an accounting period, or actually think of it as a financial period. Kind of sounds like fiscal. Fiscal period consisting of 12 consecutive months is called a fiscal year. Now, most businesses operate in regards to their own personal tax situation. So their fiscal year is a calendar year, January through December. All right. However, a lot of corporations do not operate on a calendar year. They've set their own year. Now they have to get tax approval from the Internal Revenue Service. Hey, we're going to set our year at such and such a range of dates. So my experience with fiscal years was Seneca Foods, for example, my last industry employer, vegetable processing. We kind of were a seasonal business, and our whole season started April 1 with planting, and then into starting harvest in maybe May or June, and so on. And our fiscal year ended on March 31st. That was the year end. April 1 to March 31 was our fiscal year. Key Tech, company that makes vegetable sorting equipment. They operate October 1, this is what I remember anyway, October 1 through September 30th. And just for laughs and giggles, I wanted to pull up a browser window here. And you can join me here. We're going to do this in class. Finance.yahoo.com. Let me get rid of the rest of that. All right. And any idea, Microsoft, any idea what their fiscal year is? Well, let me come up here and type in MSFT. That's a ticker symbol or an abbreviation of Microsoft Corporation. Some of this may be surprising information to you, by the way. We come down here to financials in Yahoo Finance. Now, I can pull up all kinds of crazy stuff here, but here is the income statement for Microsoft. You'll notice it has 630 for the past 3 years. And so their fiscal year ends on June 30th. So they would be operating July 1 through June 30. And by the way, do you know what that number is right there? 168. Now it says all numbers in thousands. That's $168 billion of sales. Okay. How about Amazon? Any idea what their fiscal year? I mean, they seem to be operating year round, right? Amazon, AMZN. Let's go look them up. Again, we'll come down here to financials. 12/31. Who would have thought? They operate year round. They're not seasonal at all. And they operate from January 1 to 12/31. Actually, to be honest, one of the few corporations I've ever seen like that. How about Starbucks, which is SBUX, ticker symbol, financials, 9/30s. They're operating kind of like what I said about Key Tech. They operate from October 1 through September 30 would be their fiscal year, their financial year. So Amazon was the only one of those three there that operates the same as a calendar year. Anyway, that's a fiscal year. Okay? All right. Now we get into worksheets. A Columbia accounting form used to summarize the general ledger information needed to prepare financial statements is called a worksheet. And again, we're just focusing on the trial balance section of that worksheet today. And again, this is a planning document used for financial statement preparation. And I just want, again, to give you an example of exactness where a buddy of mine who works for Banner Bank here in Walla Walla, Banner Corporate, before they send their financial statements out to their general investors, one person pulls up the financial statement and the other person pulls up the printed version of the financial statement, and they read. The one guy reads a person reads a number, and the other person verifies that's the number that was printed out. That's how exacting it is. You don't want to produce something that's inaccurate. So in the case of the worksheet, we want to make sure that moving forward, we are accurate. All right. And why do we do this? Well, we want to summarize general ledger account balance to prove that big thing is debits and credits. Do our debits equal our credits in our two-entry accounting system before we move forward? Or did we make a posting error somewhere or a journalizing error somewhere? There's all kinds of places along the way we could have made errors. All right, plan needed changes to general ledger accounts to bring account balances up to date. So what do we need to do to make them balanced? Okay, we'll chat about that a little bit. Separate general ledger account balances according to the financial statements to be prepared. Okay, that's another part of what we're going to get into later. Calculate the amount of net income or net loss for a fiscal period. That also is what we're going to get into later with our revenue and expense accounts. Did we make money or did we not during, in this case, the month? Okay. Prepare the heading of a worksheet. Data Web Services worksheet for month ended January 31. And the heading of any worksheet, any financial statement answers the question who, what company, what, what's the statement, and when, what's the period or the date. Is a range of period, is like a month or a year that we're talking about? Or is it a point in time, like a balance sheet? Later on, we'll get into balance sheets. Is it a point in time? That's preparing the heading of a worksheet. Name of the company, name of the report, date of the report. Who, what, when. There we go. I got it. Then we prepare the balance sheet. All accounts are listed in chart of account order. All information is retrieved from the general ledger where we have a page for every account, right? All account titles, if possible, are written out in full, and the accuracy of entering in your numbers, making sure the numbers are correct and making sure we put them on the debit or credit side is critical. Okay? Now, what happens if we make errors? Now, this may be a subject of future chapters, but I just want to demonstrate two different examples of errors. All right? I'm going to come over here. What would happen if instead of 8,045 down here, what if we had, I'm going to just do a little example over here. What if we had debits equal 8027 and credits equal 8045, as opposed to what's listed there? Blow this up a little bit. What if that was our total on our trial balance? Well, you always want to take the difference between your numbers. In this case, I'll take the bigger number minus a smaller number to keep it simple, 18. And I want to just illustrate something called the rule of nines. Rule of nines. Start with your difference and divide it by 9. If it's divisible by 9, which 18 is, what's 18 divided by 9? I'll just illustrate this. 18 divided by 9 equals 2. 2. Now, you're like, Reardon, what are you doing? Who cares, right? Well, if your error is divisible by 9, that means you flip-flop some numbers between your ones and your tens column, and the difference between those digits is 2. We might get into this later on, but so for example, advertising expense, let's say that instead of 397, we wrote 379. That would reduce the balance at the bottom by 18. And so if we found something divided by 9 by 2, we'd look for 2 digits in the ones and tens column that have a difference of 2. 7 and 9, 2 and 0, 9 and 7. Those would be our candidates for where we made our error. And we go back and make sure we entered those in correctly. All right? Next, what would happen if our difference looked like this? What if our total debits were 79.65, our total credits 81.25? Difference between the two, 160. I can already tell you right now that is not divisible by 9. Okay? But the next one is rule of twos. Rule of twos. Well, we're going to divide 160 divided by 2. That equals 80. What does that mean? It kind of means that we made a double error. It could be that we took some amount that's $80, like down here, communications expense, and we slid it over into the credit side, which would make the credit side off too much, and it would make the debit side off too little. We'd take $80 away. So we're doubling the error. So dividing by 2, we would take that number of 80 and we would go through our trial balance and look for anything equal to 80. I hope that's helpful moving forward, because you're going to make mistakes in creating some of this stuff. So the rule of nines and the rule of twos is something to help you to keep in mind moving forward. All right. So here we go. Write the general ledger account titles in the worksheet's account title column. Write the general ledger debit balances, and then the general ledger credit balances in the trial balance credit column. Again, on the worksheet, we're only concerning ourselves right now with our trial balance. Rule a single line across the two trial balance columns below. Total them both carefully. Write each column's total below the single line. Rule double lines across both trial balance columns if they're equal. If not, you can use my rule of nines and rule of twos helper. Here's rule number 6. What is written on the 3-line heading on a worksheet? Name of the business, name of report, date of report. What general ledger accounts are listed in the trial balance columns of a worksheet? All of them, even if they don't have balances. Just make sure you get them all there. All right. Okay, let's go slide over to MindTap. I got to get out of this section here, this trial balance here. All right. Close that out. I'm going to go into Work Papers 6.1 and work together. All right. On April 30th of the current year, Fix It Now is ready for the worksheet. The business uses a monthly fiscal period, monthly financial period. First step in preparing a worksheet is the heading. Fill in the blanks for each row of the worksheet heading for Fix It Now for April 30th of the current year, into the current year as 20 blank blank. Okay, so who Fix It Now? What? A worksheet, I'll spell it correctly. When? For month ended April 30, 20 dash dash. That's the heading of our worksheet. Okay. And we're going to do other things with this later on, income statements, some adjustments, whatever. Stay tuned for that. And grade step 1. I think I'm good. Double checking. Looks great. Here we go. Yep, got 2 out of 2. Next step. Well, they've already entered, actually haven't entered in. Now we get to enter in the amounts. We're assuming we're going to our general ledger account balances. We have to go to each general ledger account and drop them in. I'm going to pin this up here. Drop them into our general ledger. So here we go. Cash, 4,900. Petty cash, 75. Accounts receivable, 1,387. Supplies, 228. Prepaid insurance, 375. Now we move to some credits. Accounts payable, 267. And Connor Whitney Capital, 7443. Connor Whitney Drawing, 1,700. Income summary statements. Counts, I should say. Sales credit, 2160. Advertising expense, 460. Cash short and over, 6. Insurance expense, nothing activity there. 189 for miscellaneous expense, nothing for supplies, and utilities, 550. I'm taking all those accounts, all that information from my general ledger. Now it's a little hokey because it's written up there like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, rather than making it all detailed, we're pretending like we're pulling it all from the general ledger. Okay? Now, I'm going to unpin here. Now I need to go in here and make sure that my debits on my trial balance equal my credits. And again, I'm only concerned here for now with my trial balance column. So I'm going to use Excel as a calculator. Here we go. And I'm going to do debits and credits. Now you could do this on a calculator yourself, but here I go. Equals 4,900 plus 75 plus 1,387 plus 228 plus 375 plus 1,700. I'm adding all the debit amounts up there, my debit column. Now, if you have a 10 key and you're a good 10 key operator, 9870 for my debits. My credits, 267 plus 7443 plus 2160. That's it. I went really, really fast. You might have had to slow me down, whatever. Like, whoa. All I did was I added up all my debits, I added up all my credits to prove they're equal, and they are 9870 my debits, 9870 for my credits, and I've completed my Fix It Now worksheet trial balance, and I'm ready to move forward. Now I don't need to put anything down here, and this is already single line above, double line below for me. Grade final step. Did I get 100%? Please tell me I did. Yes, I did. All right, very good. Okay, save and continue. You will then go on to work on this example for Repair World on your own. And then you're going to be doing the terms review for lesson 6-1. If you have any questions, reach out and please throw them at me. Google Hangouts is a great way to do that. Have a great day.